Hi, I'm Tally Olivo, SVP of Sales for American Analytics, and this is an instructional video on how to use our SafeChemo wipe sample kit in order to comply with USP 800. I'm receiving my kit in a FedEx package or a package that looks somewhat like this, and I'm going to be opening it in an area that is free of hazardous drugs, where hazardous drugs are not being used. This is very important in order to prevent cross-contamination. So the area that I'm in right now represents a clean office. And I'm going to pull my kit out of the packaging. And this is our SafeChemo wipe sample kit. And yes, that's right, you'll notice that it comes in a cardboard box. This is very important because we do not want you to bring this kit into the areas that you're going to be sampling. And this is one of the many measures that we have taken in order to prevent cross-contamination. The last thing we want to have and to show is contamination where it really doesn't exist. So there are many steps within our procedures here in order to prevent that cross-contamination. So when you receive our kit, you can open it again in the clean area. And at the top of the kit is our inventory page. And we're going to look at that a little bit more closely. So you'll notice the first thing here on our inventory page is this sticker that has our kit number. And that's very important because we track everything in our kit based on that kit number. You'll also find additional kit number stickers in the box, and you can add those to the chain of custody, and I'll talk about that more later. You'll notice here there's two sections on the inventory page. There's a blue section and a red section. The red section contains all of the materials that stay out of your sampling areas. And the blue section contains all of the inventory items that go with you for sampling. So in the red section, there's items like the box that the kit comes in. There's an instruction manual that has a lot of important information and is something that you should keep for future reference. We have a few pens, the chain of custody form, and the FedEx pre-labeled packagings for free shipping return back to our laboratory. In the blue section are the materials that you'll take with you and that you need in order to collect the samples. This includes items like the sample swabs, the sample tubes, our pre-measured frames, your sample ID stickers. We include a wetting solution, the measuring tapes, there's disposable measuring tapes, our quick sampling guide, we also call it our cheat sheet, that is laminated. We have sealing tape for each one of your sample tubes, and I will be demonstrating all of this later. And then we have our bubble wrap envelope where you will put all of your completed samples in order to ship them back to our laboratory. And we also include a pen in there. So what we've done to make this even more convenient is that all the supplies that you'll need to sample that are in the blue section here on the inventory page are all in this sealed bag. Now, if you need to wipe this down before taking it into your sample location, that's okay. All the materials that are in the red section that are not to be taken into your sampling area are outside in the box. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this sealed bag and organize my supplies for this particular sample. Hi, I'm Tally Olivo, SVP of Sales with American Analytics, and we're back here in the lab at American Analytics to continue our demonstration of the SafeChemo wipe sample kit in order to comply with USP 800. And I'm going to do the actual demonstration of the wipe sampling. And you'll notice that I'm not really wearing any PPE. you should wear the appropriate PPE as required by the safety SOPs for your facility. I am, however, wearing double gloves, and what I've done is I've prepared the materials that I need for just this sample location. So let's go through really quickly all the supplies that I have ready here on this mat. So the first thing I have here is my sample tube. Inside the tube, you'll notice there is a small vial of wetting solution. I have a swab cap. This is a cap that goes on the end of your sample swab. There is an H on one side and a V on the other. The H is for horizontal, the V is for vertical. There is your sterile sampling swab. Now, there are extra of some of these materials in case you drop it or it gets contaminated. We do have additional of some of these supplies, including the wetting solution and the sterile swabs. There is disposable measuring tape, a pen, our handy dandy pre-measured frame. Again, there's a couple extra of these for you in our kit, just in case. I have already written out the name of my sample on my sample ID sticker. This says counter 1. Next, I have the sealing tape. That's with the circle in the middle. I have my quick guide, which we also call our cheat sheet, which has step-by-step instructions with pictures on how to perform the wipe sampling. On the other side is additional instructions on how to collect samples on irregular surfaces like a phone or a doorknob. And finally, I have my bubble wrap envelope where I will be inserting my completed samples. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my pre-labeled sample ID sticker that has counter 1 on it, and I'm going to put that right here on my sample tube. Next, I'm going to take my handy dandy pre-measured frame and I'm going to drop that on my sample surface. Now this sample surface could be any counter, a bench, or even a floor. It's a flat surface. You could even use our frame if you're sampling a safety cabinet door or refrigerator door, but of course you'd have to hold the frame up against that vertical surface. Next, I'm going to remove the cap from the sample tube, and you'll notice there's actually a well on the inside of that cap. I'm placing it on my clean mat, and I'm pulling out my wetting solution. I'm going to open the vial of my wetting solution and pour that right into the cap. Now this empty vial can be regularly disposed of. Now I can open my envelope of the sample swab, and you'll notice it opens just kind of like a Band-Aid. And I've exposed the handle, and now as an option you can use these little caps that represent horizontal and vertical on each side. And once I've put that cap on the end of the swab handle, I pull the swab out and I can dispose of the envelope. Next, I put the swab head into my cap with the wetting solution, and through capillary action, the swab head becomes nice and wet so that I can start my wipe sampling. There we go. Almost all of that wetting solution has been soaked up by my swab head. Holding the edge of the frame, and you can even touch your sample surface to give you additional leverage to hold the frame securely. I'm going to start in one corner, and let's start with a vertical sample. And in a vertical motion, pressing very firmly so that the entire head of my sample swab is in contact with the surface. I am using overlapping strokes to completely wipe the inside of my frame. And now I've completed the vertical side. I'm going to flip the swab over, and now I will collect my sample in the horizontal direction, starting at another corner. Again, pressing very firmly so that the entire head of my swab is in maximum contact with my sample surface. Using overlapping strokes to completely wipe the inside surface area of my pre-measured frame. And now my sample is complete. I'm going to pop that swab into the sample tube without touching the sample tube. Again, we're trying to prevent cross-contamination. So there is a potential that my gloves now have hazardous drug residue on them, and I don't want to touch that sample swab. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my gloves, and I will continue preparing the sample. And now, through the magic of television, I have on my new outer layer of gloves, and I'm ready to finish preparing this sample. If you do have any extra of the wetting solution in your cap, that's okay. You can just tap any tiny particles or tiny drops out onto your mat, and you want to cap your sample. Next, you're going to seal this using the sealing tape. And the little circle that's in the middle goes right over the top of this cap. And by utilizing the sealing tape, you prevent this from opening just in case during shipping back to our laboratory. And now my sample is complete, and now I have clean gloves. I can put that sample into the bubble wrap bag, and my first sample is ready and done. All right, I'm back here in my clean area, which in this case is an office. I have my completed samples in the bubble wrap envelope. All of these samples are sealed and labeled, and the envelope is also sealed. And now I'm going to get these ready to send back to American Analytics for analysis. Now you've got your kit, and you'll notice at the very bottom of the box there is a double stick tape. And what you want to do here is just pull the top of that and press the bag onto the bottom of the box, and now that prevents the samples from shifting during shipping back to our laboratory. Now I've got here my instruction manual, and I'm going to keep that for future reference along with any extra pens that I may have. And I have my completed chain of custody form. The first thing I'm going to do is scan and email that to us here at American Analytics. The email address is at the bottom of the chain of custody. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to utilize this sticker that has the kit number on it. I'm going to peel it off and put it in the kit number section of the chain of custody. Once that's completed, you have a completed chain of custody and it's scanned and emailed back to our laboratory. You're going to include that in with your samples and seal the box. Now every one of our kits also comes with a pre-addressed, prepaid label to send that for overnight shipping back to our laboratory. So you're going to put your kit into the prepaid envelope. Again, free shipping back to American Analytics. And now this is ready to be mailed back to our laboratory. Thank you so much for watching our instructional video and being a part of the health and safety of your facility.